Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Just before we kick off the RCS session, I would like to share a few words about MEF and the messaging program. So some of you already not only know MEF, but you're also an engaged member. But for those who doesn't know us, we are a trade body established back in 2001 with members from a variety of countries and with active chapters in Europe, Africa, and Latin America as well. MEF has, besides of the Future of Messaging program, another initiatives. The consumer trust is one of them. It aims to raise awareness of issues surrounding trust in mobile products and services. GDPR is also a key focus area for this working group, where we look at how the data protection regulation matters to all mobile businesses that hold personal data. We also have a local initiative. VAS regulation in Brazil is one example of those. In Brazil, MEF looks at the VAS market, working with the carriers, with aggregators, and the government. Just earlier this year, we launched a new version of the VAS Code of Conduct, which was done in partnership with the local regulator, Anatel, highlighting best practice for smart messages and mobile marketing. This is just a good example of how the industry can work together with all the telcos, aggregators, and regulator coming and developing a code and championing a sustainable self-regulation model. But now focusing on the messaging initiative. As now the program has more than 30 participants, companies that comes from different countries, stakeholders from across the mobile messaging value chain. That includes MNOs, aggregators, software houses, enterprises as well. We are now in phase 2 of the program, and we have an extensive roadmap of deliverables and events planned for the following months. We launched the program back in 2015, looking to accelerate market cleanup and to promote innovation on the A2P messaging ecosystem. Our focus is not just to develop best practice, but also to bring education and awareness into the discussion and all the discussions, and also to advocate and promote A2P messaging as a trusted enterprise channel. We do split our work in 2 different work streams. So we do have one fraud work stream and a market development work stream. So under the fraud management work stream, we have the trust and enterprise messaging service, which is basically a self-regulation tool that is part of the fraud management workstream. And we just launched a global code of conduct 2 weeks ago that sets out best practice for all the players operating within the A2P SMS sector. And it's based on 10 principles offering detailed guidance on commercial, procedural, and technical requirements, as well as an emphasis on consumer protection. So any stakeholder in the enterprise messaging ecosystem can sign up to join the Trust and Enterprise Messaging and position themselves as a company that follows industry best practice, as a code signatory, and as a badge holder. So the other work stream of the program is the market development, where we aim to support the participants to navigate changes in the industry by promoting discussions around new use cases for enterprise messaging, and supporting the development of new business models, practices, and services with this common goal of building a premium and trusted channel. And here is where the RCS discussions fits into the program. July is we are promoting it as our RCS month, where we are hosting a series of activities about the topic. And by the end of this month, actually by early August, we will establish a RCS dedicated working group to have further discussions about RCS. Here you can see some headlines generated over the years of the program. we have established content partnerships with different companies like the National Cybersecurity Center in the UK, CTIA in the US, to look at how, as an industry, we must collaborate to tackle consumer fraud. We also have partnerships with IAB to help educate buyers and then try to bring the brands and the agencies for those discussions as well. And also with GSMA to support their messaging as a platform initiative. Google participated in one of our workshops back in May, and they are kindly here today to share some content about RCS as well, and to answer some of your questions as Tim Green told us. So if you would like to know more about the messaging program, and if you'd like to know about our activities, please let me know, and I'll be happy to be in touch with you. Thank you all. I think that's it from my side, and back to you, Tim.
Okay, thanks very much, Gabby. So as promised, we're now going to hear from Todd, who's going to bring us an update on Google's RCS activities. So over to you, Todd.
Hey, we're going to be sharing the presentation here in a second. Want to get everyone up to date on what we're doing, as Tim said, and also recognize we have quite a few people here online. About 500 were registered. And so I'm going to touch on a little bit of everything because we have people with different knowledge here. I am going to go through the basics very quickly and then spend more time in going in depth and, of course, even more time on Q&A. So to begin with, we're going to be going through the introduction of RCS, then we'll go into rich business messaging. Some people know this as MEF as well, coming out of the GSMA lingo. And then we'll do some launches and demos of what we've shown and what's available. We'll cover next steps and what you can do, and then we'll hand it over to Tim to start asking questions or take any questions there from you. So to begin with, we're all very familiar over the last 25 years with SMS and MMS. We've grown quite fond of 160 characters of text, and we seem to have gotten very used to communicating that way. But for the brands and for the marketers, this is a tough medium. It's basic text, it's unreliable group chat, it's limited photo sharing, and then it's not as updatable due to its technology and being kind of built into the phone. RCS provides a whole new experience, especially in person-to-person communication. On the right side, you can see a screen that has everything from kind of rich messaging using photos or GIFs. In addition, this is the first time for carrier messaging, there's actually open groups. And it provides a much more easy group chat that we're used to, similar to what you may find on email or frankly with any of the OTTs out there, where people can come and join groups, leave groups, and the group continues as its own entity. It also is much easier in sharing high-resolution photos and file sharing. We've done all sorts of benchmarking here, and unfortunately, those beautiful pictures you send to a friend through MMS, it ends up getting passed through two MMSCs, which usually compresses it, and the picture that comes out at the end is very different than the one that began with. On the next slide, this is GSMA's picture, and we believe it's fairly up to date here on just how global RCS has become. RCS really took off about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. At this point, we frankly do not know of a carrier that is not rolling out RCS. Timetables may be different, rollouts may be different, but everyone now feels as a carrier that they're going to roll out RCS, that they need to roll it out to their customers, and they need to give their customers a better messaging experience than what they've had previously. The red, this is a little counterintuitive, but the red is actually the most positive. and probably should be bright green here, which is that it's multiple RCS launches. So as you can see for North America, it's true that in Canada and the US, we have quite a few RCS launches that have started way back in 2015, I believe. And then in the kind of turquoise, we have RCS launches that you can see are covering a lot of Asia. And then in addition to that, we have forecasts for 2018. And to the best of our knowledge, for the area that we see, we do believe these will all be launched in 2018. We have ourselves here at Google, many in the pipeline that are getting launched in the next 90 days. RCS is real, it is happening, and it's these carrier launches that we're all looking forward to and will increase the penetration dramatically. On the next slide, we often get asked, why is Google in this? And one of the myths or misunderstandings that sometimes happen is that people think that RCS is a Google initiative or Google software. It is not. It is managed by the GSMA. It is a carrier standard. It's very similar to SMS, MMS, and yet RCS is taking us to the next level of rich media and rich messaging. It was very important to Google to support this initiative and to do this through carrier standards. We think by going through carrier standards, we're going to have a much more robust ecosystem for everyone to benefit from. Our motivations were that we really wanted to improve the Android messaging experience. It was critical for Google to really take that on and to try to give Android users, wherever they may be, on whatever devices they may be on different OEMs at different carriers, the best messaging experience we could get for the user. We had done lots of research showing that the messaging experience was absolutely critical to get right, and we wanted to invest heavily in doing this and doing it through the operators. The operators in the second point are very important to Google, and we wanted to do it within the operator's environment, and we wanted to do this through standards and not something that is proprietary. Our third initiative here is once the platform's out, we're hoping to develop new services and products. The map or business messaging is just one of them, and we're hoping to do many more, some of them for revenue, some of them simply to improve customer experience. On the next slide, we're showing you here where we are currently with our carriers. These are just the carriers that we've publicly announced. We have a roughly 50% more of this actually launching right now, or that have launched that we've not announced. We are very pleased to be working with these carriers in different ways. And we're excited to continue to roll this out. It is our hope that with RBM and with MAP, that we would be a vendor for these carriers here, helping provide RBM and helping to increase business messaging overall throughout the globe. On the next slide, we just wanted to take you through real quickly here what we're providing to the ecosystem for those who are interested in it. We started with the first three technologies to the left. RCS, much like MMS and SMS, are delivered through a native client. For us, this client can't be downloadable. It is updated constantly. We're on a 1-month update cycle for this client, so there's no longer a need for OEM maintenance releases or MRs to update the client. We continue to see things that users want, and we're able within a sprint or two, meaning 4 or 8 weeks, to get new features into the client so users can have them. RCS is a client-server technology, and on the back end, what we provide is a hosted RCS platform. This platform has been developed over many, many years now in RCS, and we've slowly brought everything a carrier needs into the cloud, so this can be launched very quickly, very fast by the operators, and it can also be updated quickly as well. The final service, which we've actually had up and running for a while now, several years, is that we've connected most of, if not all of the customers I showed you on the previous slide, to the hub. And the hub provides interoperability between one carrier to another, so that you could be on one carrier and send a message across the globe via RCS to another carrier and have that customer go back and forth, regardless of where they are in the world. We are very pleased with the performance of the hub, and we do think interconnecting RCS users wherever they may be and whoever they may be on for technology is a key driver in getting the ecosystem growing. Then finally, what we're here today to speak about is what we call the RCS messaging, business messaging platform, or RBM for short, which once again is the equivalent of MAP for those who've also been attending conferences and hear it by a different name. This platform we've been working on for over 2 years now, and we launched with public campaigns at March at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about what we've done then and what we're doing now. So that's it for catching up folks who are new to this area, and now we want to take a deeper dive into the RBM side of the house. On this slide, and I'm sure all of you have seen things like this, but each channel that a marketer has available to them or a brand has to communicate their message, each has some benefits, but also they have some fallbacks. SMS has not been developed much from a technology standard, just because it's very robust around the world, but it is not does not provide for good, rich messaging. And even attempts on MMS were quite difficult to make sure that reach and formatting worked throughout. So for the most part, marketers have been reduced to using 160 characters of text. And even with that, the medium of SMS itself continued to be very valuable. It has the highest open rates, the quickest read rates, and we've now seen this in the stats. And it is the largest group that you can communicate with 6 billion clients around the world. There's more people that have SMS than almost computers and other cable TV, internet combined. SMS is by far the most ubiquitous way to reach around the world. Mobile apps also are very good and rich media, but they frankly sometimes lack the audience that marketers thought they would have after building it. 85% of the time on our phones are spent in just 5 apps. And oddly enough, those 5 apps are usually in the top 5 apps are 2 to 3 messaging apps themselves, which are apps. And so once again, messaging is core to the way mobile users end up using their phones and how they communicate. Call centers, as we know, are quite expensive because they usually come with a live person on the other end. And the next step below that, I just wanted to check with all of you. If there really are 500 on the line today, that means that 15 of you actually enjoy using IVR. And if you're one of these 15 people that enjoy using IVR, we would love to hear from you because we've never met anyone that enjoys IVRs. But nonetheless, call centers usually end up in frustration from the customer and isn't the best experience there is. And as the millennials and other younger generations come online, more and more research shows that they prefer to communicate with their brands and with their enterprises they work with via text versus actually on the phone. It can be a much more asynchronous communication that they can use while multitasking on other things. And then finally, email, which we've all used quite a lot, is plagued by low response rates, which sometimes come from spam messages that we all receive. And no matter how much work we do, we can't eliminate quite all of them. So coming out of these kind of pitfalls, we think the RCS world here has something that is very interesting to the brands. And in our meetings with the brands and our partners as well, we've found a lot of interest within RBM or MAP here. On the left, once again, the brand has no branding, there's no pictures, there's no video, there's no read receipts. There are sometimes send confirmations, but even those are questionable at times. Some of the confirmations stop at the SMSC. Some of them stop at the network. You never quite are sure if that message got delivered with the delivery receipt. And then second of all, you don't know if it got opened. But now with RCS, all these possible negatives have changed dramatically. We're now talking about full branding, using the colors of the brand, the colors of the company that they want to use. Also, one of the biggest changes is, if you notice in this diagram up top, we have the short code here on the SMS side, and on the right side, we have the actual brand name. And this is what's available in RBM. You actually start communicating with a brand's name instead of a unknown short code that you never know if you can trust or not. Rich pictures end up making a world of difference, and we'll explain that a little bit more, but it is amazing the uplift on the actual live campaigns that one gets simply by adding pictures. Same offer, pretty close A/B testing all the way through, including wording, but if you add a picture there, the performance jumps up dramatically. We also have the ability to deliver high quality video if that's what the brand wants as far as the way they want to market their product or service. Read receipts are absolutely fascinating to see. We can now track read receipts. We can, within RBM, we can tell people and brands when people have read the message, how many read it in the first 10 minutes, how many read it in the first hour. Some of this is absolutely key to marketers, especially any kind of quick serve restaurants where we make the decision as consumers of where we're going to have lunch or dinner within an hour of eating. And if they can hit us at that right time and know that we've actually read those messages at the right time, they can make their marketing that much more effective. Right now, it's a black box. They know when they sent the message, but they have no idea if you read that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, right before you left work to go have dinner, or if you read it at 10 p.m. at night, just then checking your messages at that time. We also have much higher interactions now with suggested replies. And what I want to do is show you just a little bit more of what this looks like on the next slide here. So what we have here is, and I'm going to go down first the left-hand side, and then I'll go down the right-hand side. Trusted branding. This can be the exact color. This can be very much like a watermark as well, letting the user know that it's actually your brand that's communicating to you. And it can be done in the exact colors that you want. The core of it is richer media here in the middle for Gamma Air, and you're able within this box to put anything you want, including here we have a QR code for redemption. This time it's a airplane ticket. The next time it could be a coupon, or it could be even a movie pass. Then on the bottom, ease of replying. This has been absolutely critical. These are suggested replies by the brand. It's nothing that the system puts in. It is exactly the way the brand wants you to communicate back. It provides different answers of canned responses, and it takes what has notoriously been a one-way communication medium. About, depending on who you talk to, 97 to 95% of SMS messages are just one way on business messaging. And we unfortunately are convinced that the remaining 5% is probably the message stop. It's just too much friction for the customer to actually type out a reply, but these suggested replies allow for a two-way conversational commerce to get started. Then I'm now on the other side of the slide. On the top, the customer safety and peace of mind is absolutely critical. In the research we've done with a lot of phishing through SMS and with a lot of possible fraud, people are double checking right now to make sure these messages are really from their brands and not spoofs of them. By having this, by having the messages come directly from them is just one more step of working on verification. And we back this up with information on the back end to verify that sender and make sure they are who they say they are. Ease of, once again, on the QR codes, very easy to use. Tools, ticketing, traffic, and redemption is all possible within here. Better metrics than we've ever seen before with these read receipts. So instead of just doing DLRs or delivery receipts, you can actually get read receipts, which many of our brands are enjoying right now, and understanding what is finally the read rates of what they're sending. And then finally, this next one is different than a reply. This one is an actual action. Do you, the brand, want them to go to a URL, to some sort of landing page for this information that you've communicated? Do you want them to go to a map to drive to your store? Do you want them to input a calendar date? Do you want them to actually, in this case, reach out to you if they're confused by the last message they got, or if they want to place an order with you? All of these actions can be pre-programmed in here with these chips, as they're called, and will drive the user to where you want them to go. On the next slide, the research we keep on coming across, or research that we're doing, shows that 80% of the consumers do find RCS appealing. It's a welcome change from a simple SMS. And then they also, 74% said that they were more likely to want to communicate with the brand through this mechanism. And we have seen that now that we've gone live with customers and seen their reactions. This slide provides a couple of things here that we felt was important to talk to you about. One is our go-to-market here is to work with messaging partners. Alex here, who will be helping me in the Q&A, has done a good job reaching out to many of you on the phone here, and we're in dialogue with quite a few of you. We have hit about 100 partners at this point that are signed up and working with us right now. The numbers we have here are by region, and these are how many partners we have in that region. So a partner could be double counted here if they operate, let's say, in North America and in EMEA. But we're starting to get more global coverage here. We do believe the brands will push us to global. needs as far as reaching everyone. And to the right, we've shown you a little bit of where we're rolling out and when we're rolling it out. You'll see us invest heavily in the Americas here just at the beginning. And then in Q3 and Q4, you'll see a shift to Europe. And then finally, Asia and India and the Philippines in 2019. At this point, our new launches that we'll be doing with the carriers that are in our pipeline right now, but not announced, is they will be launching RBM almost at the same exact time that they launch their own in-country service and that they connect to the hub. Before, we had a lag time between the two, and now with the technology, once it's set up, it's all set up and a carrier comes on board and is immediately connected to the hub for interoperability and is connected to RBM. Okay, then I want to take you through just some of the launches and demos. Many of these are available at the GSMA sites, and we also have further information on some of these. The on Subway, and we'll get this information out further. And if any of you can email me at the end, we'll show the email address. But just yesterday, I was at a conference, mobile marketing conference, where Subway, for the first time, publicly announced their results that they had on the Google platform for their campaign. Their results are phenomenal. They kept a very strict A/B testing with us in their launch. They had the exact same offer, the exact same wording, and then instead what they used was they used the rich media of RBM, including a picture of the sandwich, and instead of URLs, they were able to use chips and other services to get the interaction to drive store traffic. This was tracked through a coupon redemption. So this campaign itself was also the full cycle, all the way down to proof of purchase. And the results were phenomenal. They ended up getting a lift of 50% or more. And we will probably be publicly sending that out probably within the next month of the full case study of Subway. They're an excellent partner for us, and we're thrilled to be working with them and many others. But please shoot me an email if you're interested in more information on Subway, and when it's all put together, we'd love to send it to you. Other examples that we launched at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona would be Four Seasons. Four Seasons wanted to test out an experience of actually chatting and beginning to communicate to people before they've arrived on the hotel premises. Being able to have the concierge reach out, wonder if they can do anything to make their stay with them better, any restaurant recommendations or confirmation of arrival and so forth. All of this was provided through this live campaign that launched in the summer, or earlier in the summer, in the spring. Snap Travel, another interesting play here. Snap Travel wanted to actually start doing hotel reservations and being able to make reservations and chat with live agents through RCS. Once again, they also went live just after Mobile World Congress in the February-March timeframe. And you get an idea of just how diverse these use cases can be, from ordering something all the way down to a QR code to increased hospitality for a hotel chain of communicating before arrival. And then here, actually going as far as to making the hotel reservations within the messaging app. Things like this just were not able to be done before on SMS. We also have a fair amount of carriers who've joined us this morning as well. And we have several examples of demos that have been put together by either their messaging partners or by them themselves for them as the brand. So here is Clara, and for this application, they're doing a extra kind of top up and for customers that pay as they go on prepaid. And this allows them to keep the carrier service going, even if they have to, if you will, borrow some minutes for their prepaid service to keep on going. So it's actually kind of a microcredit lending just on minutes of airtime. And this was shown also at Mobile World Congress Americas. And to give you an idea of just one other carrier example, we have Sprint on the next page. Sprint tackled that roaming issue, which I think a lot of us have experienced, where we've landed in a new country. We aren't quite sure if we're roaming correctly, what rate plan are we roaming on, and needing to get some more information. Carriers do a good job now of trying to communicate some of that via SMS, but I think even that sometimes is too hard via SMS. And so Sprint was able to put together a beautiful example here of how a carrier could communicate to their roaming customer as they travel abroad. So what can you do going forward? On the next slide, we do get, especially from brands in enterprises, we do get questions of, well, what could I use this for? And in our answers, well, you know, what can you use a website for, or what can you use a mobile application for? It's very varied. We have all sorts of new tools in. We are now doing payments as well within this, where we simply are the matchmaker between the merchant and what payments the merchant wants to allow, that they allow today, whether that's Visa or American Express or PayPal or something like that, and what the customer wants to use within their wallet. And even for something like this, we charge nothing for that interaction. Google doesn't take anything. We're just providing through our payment system a matchmaking service where the merchant can actually complete the purchase right here through the RBM system. So applications can be all the way from there to even more simpler ones. And so here, just as one dimension, we've gone from simple use cases to complex cases. I think one of the key learnings from our brands is that unlike a website or an application, that when you launch, you need to launch the whole thing. You can't launch one tab of an application or from a website and expect them to end up using that service, because they'll see that as incomplete. But the brands we're working with have found it very successful in messaging to actually just take one use case, nail that use case, even if they have 10 different SMS campaigns going on or notifications going on to customers. They found it very useful to take what they think is the most strategic and the most meaningful that they could get the biggest uplift on, and converting that to RBM and testing that out and getting the lift in that one use case. And they don't have to take all 10 SMS notifications or use cases and upgrade them at the same time. So we have found that to be the most useful. So in conclusion here, on how one gets started, is if you're a carrier, we definitely want to work with you if we are not already working with you on launching RCS. We want to see RCS get launched around the world and as fast as possible. On messaging partners, we have many of our partners on the line today. If you are not one of them and would like to become a partner of Google's, please contact myself, Todd Parker on the left on the bottom, or Alex on the right, and we would love to sign you up for with the Google Early Access Program and with our API. Finally, we do have a fair amount of brands online as well. And please contact us and we will get you together with one of our messaging partners. We are going to market purely through messaging partners. We think they have a lot of knowledge in this space and a huge amount of value add that we're tapping. And we would love to put you in touch with some of them so you can pick a partner to get started with.